Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a special edition of the Brew City Lounge. It is a live Milwaukee Bucks post-game show after those Milwaukee Bucks win big time. Keep in mind, Kevin Durant and James Harden walked off the court early, 104-89. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, you heard me right. The MVP, Giannis Antetokounmpo, absolutely dominated tonight. Chris Middleton dominated tonight. We're going to get all into it. I'm joined by my special guest, my boy, Adam. I'll let him throw out his Twitter handle. I don't remember it off. I'll let him throw it out there. But I am your host, as always, Brandon. Follow me on Twitter at Wisco_Brandon. Please also follow the show on Twitter, on Facebook, and on YouTube at Brew City Pod. Super excited to be having this post-game show. I know it's a little bit late. I'm full of energy right now. Adam, watching that game, what were your thoughts?
Man, so first off, I hate talking about NBA officiating, but how many charges does Giannis occur in a game? Like we've talked about this before, and it's absolutely insane on how many charges he gets called for. Now, some might be right, but a lot of them aren't, man. I thought, I missed the first quarter because I was obviously doing my other show tonight, but it proves
you got the free cat.
You got that free cat. It proves that the Nets can be beat. You know what I mean, man? Like I know Kyrie's not playing and all those guys. And look, Brandon makes me a Bucks fan, people. Whoever's listening. Brandon
shout out real quick. Shout out to my Uncle Kurt. He is watching my live show. He's out in Minnesota. I love you, Uncle Kurt. Go Bucks. Growing up, real quick. A story about my Uncle Kurt is he was an Air Force veteran. Is one of the reasons I joined the military. But he always told me my favorite sport growing up, like by far, was playing basketball. I loved playing basketball. It was my favorite thing to do. And he always told me, he said, you should focus on baseball, focus on football. You're never going to be over 6 feet tall. You're never going to be taller than him, my dad and him. And I ended up growing up and being a few inches taller than him. And he likes to always pick on me about my Milwaukee Bucks. So super, super excited to be in the position that we're in, not only tonight, but as a franchise moving forward. I was talking to some friends today, and look, you guys see it on TV. Adam, you're down in Tennessee. The Deer District is something that we don't see. You don't see a whole lot of arenas in the NBA that have an outside seating area that can hold 20,000 people where fans can come in and watch a big screen and grab beers and have a good old time. I mean, what Milwaukee is doing, we're starting to see it on a national stage. I know the national media likes to make their own narratives on what they want to talk about or what they don't want to talk about. But the fact of the matter is this Milwaukee Bucks team, when their backs are against their wall, when they're getting no officiating help whatsoever. And look, I'm not a guy that's going to sit here and say it's the official's fault but I mean, some stuff is just absolutely asinine. I mean, some of the stuff that they call or that they don't call is absolutely crazy. And I think tonight we saw it a few times, but it was okay. It was better than I thought it was going to be. And we saw pregame, Adam, that the referee for this game was actually a Brooklyn native who was a Brooklyn Nets fan or New Jersey Nets fan, now Brooklyn Nets fan. He was a fan of their team. So as Bucks fans, we got a little bit worried, but they pulled it out, man. They absolutely dominated. We're going to go through a little bit of the breakdown. I'm going to let you go ahead and give a few more of your thoughts. I usually pull up the stats and kind of look at the box score, but absolutely go ahead and let me know what you thought.
So you said officiating, you're not going to say that's a factor. It is sometimes, but players still got to play, right? Your stars got to show up. You know what I love about the Bucks, and you talk about this all the time, Brandon, and you know me, I watch your show live as much as I can, but for a small market team,
the smallest,
they are great. There's a lot of players on there. Like Drew Holiday is the most underrated point guard in the NBA, I think.
I agree.
I don't even think if somebody can name another point guard that's more underrated than, you know what I mean, than Drew Holiday, then let me know. And also, Chris Middleton, I love that guy because he doesn't talk a lot, and he
Does
just
his work.
and he does what he's supposed to do. Is he going to have an off game every now and then? Yeah, everybody is. You know, it's like Giannis from the free throw line. Everybody gets pissed off at him for that, and he was better tonight. But golly, Brandon, can you make that man hurry up and shoot a free throw? Like, it is like God's eternity.
Shout out to Juan. Shout out to Juan. He's on the live feed over on Twitter. Guys, catch us on the live feed. If you're on Twitter, out on Facebook, out on YouTube, appreciate that support. Juan drops in a comment at Bears Fanatico 94. Hey, listen, I don't care, bro. If he takes, look, what he's doing is what he's doing. Tonight, he did pretty good. I mean, he hit clutch free throws in that fourth quarter.
Yep.
I'm not concerned about his free throw shooting. I understand that it's going to get a lot of publicity but I'm going to tell you right now, it wouldn't have had the officials not called all of a sudden started calling the 10-second rule. He's been doing that routine, Adam, all year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing's new. This is what he is. I don't care if the guy is going to shoot 50% from free throw percentage. What I care about is that he's going to show out every single game in both ends of the floor. You don't get that. For as much as people love Kevin Durant and James Harden and Kyrie Irving, Giannis doesn't have those skill sets, right? He doesn't have the dribble ability. Right. He doesn't have the shooting ability of a guy like Kevin Durant, but he's won 2 MVPs. And he apparently doesn't have any skills, and he's winning. Keep this in mind. He's 26 years old. Mm-hmm. 10 years ago, he was selling jewelry on the street of Greece to survive for his family. I said it on my post-game show a couple nights ago. I'll say it again. In fact, I'll call my kids down here and tell them to their face, I love him as much as I love my kids.
God, I can't believe
it. Now, with that being said, he's gets so much, negative attention when he has bad games. He had a bad game in Game 5, is what they said. He had 34 points and 12 rebounds. I mean, the dude, if that's a bad game, then sign me up. Yeah. You know what I mean? But we're going to break down this game. This Milwaukee Bucks team does force, in my opinion, the 2 best words you could put together when it comes to sports. Game 7 coming up on Saturday night. Your Milwaukee Bucks do win 104-89, led by Chris Middleton. And holy cow, Chris Middleton was on fire pretty much all game. I mean, really, he finished with 38 points and 10 rebounds. Giannis right behind him with 30 points and 17 rebounds. Again, Adam, 30 and 17 for a guy that has no skill is what I'm told. I'm told that on the dark web on Twitter. I'm told Giannis does not have a skill, and he has 30 points and 17 rebounds. He played just 42 minutes. That's efficient. I don't care who you are.
For everybody that says Giannis doesn't have a skill, they got their head up their ass. Sorry about cussing on your show, but I'm going to tell you right now, if Giannis can, and he doesn't really need to, but if that man could develop his shot from the elbow and out, he's unstoppable.
Yeah,
literally.
I agree with that. Yeah.
I mean, Kevin Durant is a pure scorer. He's just, that's what he is, and he's long and lanky, and Giannis is kind of built the same way. I was looking at a picture of Giannis a couple days ago when he first came in the league and what he looks like now, and it's night and day, man. He was a twig.
Well, he gained 40 pounds of muscle in the summer. I mean, and that's the thing.
Yeah,
he's a freak. Like when you see, people wearing the hats, or you hear him call him the Greek freak, he's called that for a reason.
Yeah. Here's one thing. You mentioned Game 7. And here's one thing just for your Milwaukee Bucks fans to think about. How important is the 2 versus 3 seed right now?
And I said it in April when I first started this podcast. I said seeding was important. It was. But I'll tell you what. And you're right. Obviously, I think if the roles were reversed, I think the Bucks won the series tonight 4-2. Had they been obviously reversed, it would have been a clinching game. They could have easily won Game 5 too at Brooklyn. But I think that game at Brooklyn, where they led the whole time, they gave up the lead late in that fourth quarter. Kevin, tip your cap to Kevin Durant. The dude couldn't miss in that game. Yeah. I think that helps them mentally going into Game 7. Look, Adam, I said it. I said it previously when this series, prior to this series starting. Brooklyn is supposed to win. There's no doubt about it. Brooklyn has, even if, I keep hearing about, Kevin Durant doesn't have Kyrie Irving. Kevin Durant doesn't have James Harden. Guess what? Neither does Giannis. Okay? Neither does Giannis. Okay? So this is where Brooklyn is supposed to be. You saw a little bit more step in shout out to my dad. He's over there on YouTube. The Bucks are going to win Game 7, and they're going to the NBA Finals and win it. That's the positive attitudes we need on the Brew City Lounge post-game show, brought to you by Fanatics and One Call Technology. But I will say this, Adam. Brooklyn is supposed to win. They're supposed to be there. They have the best player currently in the NBA, is what I've been told. They have the better team. They have the better role players. They have home court advantage. This is not any pressure on the Milwaukee Bucks. There is no pressure, in my opinion, on this Milwaukee Bucks team. It is all on Brooklyn. Brooklyn is supposed to do this. Yeah. This is what they're really, if we want to be honest, probably shouldn't have got to 7 games. Really.
You said it. Here's the thing, man. Brooklyn is supposed to win. And do they have more talent on that team? Probably, right? Like, I mean, by name, you have Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Blake Griffin, Kevin Durant, Joe Harris. I mean, you have all those guys, big name guys. Now, I don't even know who's your third leading scorer. It'd be middle. Is it Holiday?
Jrue Holiday. Yeah.
Again, I go back to most underrated point guard in the league.
I've been saying that since I started this podcast. He's underperformed in this series, but Jrue Holiday finished with 21 points tonight.
Yeah. I just think you are correct that Brooklyn on paper is supposed to win this series. But I think that I'm not going to say lackluster. When they lost in game 5 late, they come in tonight, they showed out, and Kevin Durant, as you said in the opening, and Harden with 4 minutes left in the game, walked off the floor. I think they've got that high going into Game 7, and it's gonna be a tough game. But I'll just go ahead and say it. I don't have an NBA team that I root for anymore. I have players, and since Brandon and I are buddies and on the same network, and I listen to him, I've kind of have adapted to watching the Bucks. I don't get to watch them a lot during the regular season unless they're on nationally televised game. But I'm rooting for them, man, just because I'm not really I hate to say it, I'm not a KD person. I don't like hard. Kyrie's weird. That dude's just weird, man. Like the
earth is flat, apparently.
I do like Steve Nash. I like their coach. I do like Steve Nash as well. I don't look Kevin Durant, and look, you get your rings how you get your rings. Everybody, there's a couple that you may name that have not won a ring with multiple superstars, but I will tell you this. He's probably the most gifted scorer the NBA has probably ever seen. But I'm going to tell you right now, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, and I very well may be wrong, Kevin Durant's tired. I think he's tired. And I think he's, first off, shout out to KD for dominating Game 5 and pretty much willing that team to victory coming from behind. Yeah, he is earning every bucket he is getting. Every shot is contested, everything. No matter what, Giannis, if it's Jrue, if it's PJ Tucker, shout out to PJ Tucker tonight. Again, just playing tough defense. Everything Kevin Durant is making, he is earning. Like, the guy is earning every shot that he's going in, and he's going to hit him. He's going to hit him. And there's nothing that really anybody can really do. That's what makes Kevin Durant great. But Kevin Durant's never played on a team where he had to be the guy until now. Where Kyrie Irving went down in Game 2. And obviously James Harden returned in Game 5, and he's been somewhat limited. Kevin Durant shot 25% from the 3-point range tonight. Now he shot 50% from the field and made 15 out of 30.
finished the night with 32 points. His plus or minus -25, tied for the worst plus or minus on his team with Joe Harris, who still, for whatever reason, can't figure out what to do with the ball. But again, I mean, PJ Tucker, and then you want to know what the other funny part about this real quick? So Kevin Durant finished with the worst plus or minus for Brooklyn, really for both teams at -25. If I told you, if I gave you one guess, and I said, Adam, tell me the player on the Bucks team that finished with the highest plus or minus. Now keep in mind, Chris Middleton had 38 points, and Giannis had 30 and 17. Who, in your opinion, would have finished with the highest?
I'm going to go off the wall and say PJ Tucker.
You're absolutely 100% accurate. Plus or minus 30, bro. 30.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what I mean. He finished with 3 points, and he had the highest. This is the second time in this series where PJ Tucker had the highest plus or minus in the whole game, and he scored 3 points with 5 rebounds.
Underrated defender, Brandon.
He's wearing on Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, he didn't sit down in game 5. He played all 48. Tonight he played just under 41 minutes. I don't care what you say. He's a human being. I understand they're athletes and they're a little bit of a freak of nature, but the dude's tired.
The dude is there's no doubt. I mean, if you play a full game in the NBA, man, 48 straight minutes, that's, I mean, first of all, shout out to him for having to do that. I mean, that's amazing. But if you played 48 and then 41 tonight, you got a game 7 coming up. I get it's in Brooklyn, but I mean, and I didn't see, Brandon, you maybe tell me, is Kyrie out? Is he out? Dude, honestly, you never know. So James Harden for game 5 was ruled out within 24 hours prior to the game. Right. And then all of a sudden ended up playing. So really, Kyrie says that he didn't travel with the Nets, which tells you pretty much everything that you need to know. The way that he fell on the ankle, the way that usually ankles and soft tissue injuries take, I would assume he's probably out until if they do win game 7 and make it to the NBA finals. I think he's probably out until then. Now, LeBron James did something similar to his ankle, and he missed, I think it was like 28 games or something like that. He was out for a long time. So I don't think he's not coming back. My boy Jake drops in a comment on this subject. Kyrie has done nothing on the court yet and is still trying to get the swelling down, according to the Nets. So I agree with him. He also drops in. He says I'd say basically zero chance he could play, and if he did, and if he did talk, he would talk about being limited. I agree with him. I can't imagine he plays. And to be honest with you, nothing against Kyrie Irving. I respect his game. Maybe not some of the things that he says away from basketball. Mostly about the earth being flat. But he's a great player. Like Kyrie's great. He's a champion. He's hit clutch shots. But I honestly think that Brooklyn is better with just Harden and Kevin Durant. They feed off each other a little bit better. Yeah. Kyrie's a little bit more ball dominant. Harden can be, but he's a little bit better of a facilitator, in my opinion. So I would assume that Kyrie's going to be out. And it's going to be everything you got, like everything. Look, here's my opinion. Whoever wins this series, and I said it before it even started, whoever wins this series is going to the NBA finals. Yeah. Because 100%.
And you could make the argument they have a good chance of winning the NBA finals with Chris Paul is now out of the Western Conference. Kawhi Leonard's out for the time being. It's according to multiple reports, it's an ACL injury, so he might be out for the rest of the year. And the big thing is if Atlanta wins. If Atlanta wins against Philly, they have 2 games to win 1. So they're up 3 games to 2. Yep. Brooklyn and Milwaukee. So whoever wins game 7, they have home court advantage. Right. So I would assume that it would lean towards, look, I don't think as good as Atlanta has been all year, if they do make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, I just don't think they have the star power to compete against the Milwaukee Bucks or the Brooklyn Nets. Obviously, Brooklyn, I think, is a walk in a park. They might win a game or 2 But I think it's whoever wins the series is going to win it all. This is the Eastern Conference Finals before the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah. I don't, Atlanta was kind of a surprise team for me this year. I think for a lot of people this year, they got Trey, who's obviously a scoring machine. But I don't think in that Atlanta series, you've seen him play, and if he can't score the ball, they're not advancing. They're not going to win ball games. He's got to get his 30, 35 points a game. But I do think you're right. I think that whoever wins this series is going to go to the finals. The Suns are tough.
The Suns are tough if Chris Paul is back.
And
reports are out that he tested positive for COVID-19. Prayers up for him. Hopefully he comes back. That you're looking at a 2-week stretch without Chris Paul, so that could hinder them even making the finals. If indeed, if the Clippers win Game 6, they obviously win that series, and the Western Conference Finals start within a few days. So you're probably without Chris Paul for at least the first 2 to 3 games at the very least. But we're just going to go ahead and break down some of the numbers of this game. If you guys are out on the live feed on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, thank you. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, please, and thank you. As far as shooting the ball tonight, kind of even across the board. Milwaukee shot from the field 45%, Brooklyn 44.5%. From 3-point range, Milwaukee just, again, this is encouraging to me. And Milwaukee shot 20% from the 3-point range, 7 from 34 from long range. Brooklyn at 30%, not a whole lot better, 9 out of 30. That is telling to me, and I'll tell you why. Because as a Milwaukee Buck fan, shout out to Arlen real quick. I love this guy. All right, Harden, softest man alive. I'm going to leave that comment on here for a minute. Because he's 100% right.
It's weird not seeing my comments up here, Brandon. I'm just telling you right now, it's weird seeing my comments.
As a Bucks fan, and anybody that's watching this show, anybody that pays attention for about a week of watching the Milwaukee Bucks, they win and they lose by the 3. And more times than not, if they're hitting their 3-pointers on a consistent, around 40%, they're probably going to win every game that they're playing. There's not many teams that are going to go up against them. Maybe Brooklyn when they're fully healthy, but when they're hitting their threes, they're unstoppable. Now, when the Bucks lose, that's when we know they shot poorly, because it's live and a die by the 3-point range. Now, to see them shoot 20% and to them to blow out the Brooklyn Nets, blow them out. I mean, you got Kevin Durant and James Harden getting a head start on the showers with 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And you shot 20% from the 3-point range. That's encouraging for me as a Bucks fan. That means that whatever they're doing, and the Bucks made 7. I would beg to bet a couple of dollars that Chris Middleton probably had 3 or 4 of those.
Right.
So that's encouraging for me. Free throw percentage, the Bucks destroyed Brooklyn. Brooklyn only shot 57%. They were 8 out of 14. The Milwaukee Bucks 82%, which was huge. They made 23 free throw attempts out of 28. That is encouraging. Obviously, as we've seen all series, the Milwaukee Bucks out-rebound the Brooklyn Nets 51-39. Assists, both teams had 14. Turnovers, a little bit of a telling story as well. Brooklyn had 17. Milwaukee with only 13. That was good to see. Points in the paint, which is different from previous games. Milwaukee Bucks usually, when they win games against Brooklyn, the 3 that they've won, they've dominated the points in the paint. Tonight it was almost even, 46-44. So again, it's good to see. I got to give a shout out to a new subscriber over here. Moved from Milwaukee. Can't believe I'm missing this. Tier District looks legit. AJ, thanks so much for tuning in, man. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Live episode every Tuesday and Friday for the most part. Times always vary. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook as well at Brew City Pod. So moving on, the Milwaukee Bucks completely dominate this game. Now it was close, going back and forth for a few moments there in the second and third quarter. Pretty much dominated the first quarter. They outscored them. They had a 7-point lead going into the second quarter, but you could tell at times it was 12, 13. It was kind of just floating around there in that first quarter. Brooklyn does make it a little bit interesting going into halftime. But the third quarter was going to be the telltale story of this game. Now, game 5, same thing. Bucks going to half up. That third quarter, kind of in the middle of that third quarter, going into the late part of that third quarter, you felt Brooklyn kind of know that it was coming, in game 5. Game 6 was different tonight. It was an even score of 19 points apiece in that third quarter. Milwaukee held that lead and then obviously kind of took over in that fourth quarter. Adam, your thoughts on how the second half played out?
Third quarter even, obviously. I thought and this is just me, I thought Brooklyn would make a little bit more of a run. I thought that they would try to, and they did. They got it down maybe, I don't know if it got any closer than 5 or 6 points, but I thought that I was hoping for your sake that it wasn't going to be game 5 all over again.
There would be no post game tonight.
There would be no post game. Brandon yelled at me the other night. I said, fire. I literally said, fire this thing up. And his response was, hell no, I hate sports. So I was like, okay, I'll talk to you tomorrow. But yeah, I thought that I had something in the back of my head. A game 5 kind of was replaying in my mind. But I think in game 5, did the Bucks not have a huge lead? Were they not up like
the biggest lead they had was 17, and it wasn't. Okay. It didn't. And people are like, "Oh, they blew a 17-point game." It
was 17 for a couple minutes.
It was at 17. Then it went down to like 15. Yeah. Then it went back up to 17. Then it went down to 13. So it was kind of back and forth for a little bit. So yeah, at one point it was 17.
Here's one thing I want stat wise for you in this game. You said you guys shot 23 for 28 from the free throw line. Is that right?
23 out of 28. Correct.
What did Giannis shoot from the free throw line?
Oh, you put me on the spot here. Good thing I got it pulled up. Well, shout out real quick to AJ though. He's got a great point here. Any kind of Harden slander that you guys are building up, bring it onto the show because I absolutely cannot stand the guy. I respect the person. I don't want to slander who he is as a human, but I am so tired of the antics on the court. And AJ drops in a comment over here. I referee hoops and can't stand Harden's antics and yells at the refs, and he does the same thing. It's a joke, honestly. If you follow me on Twitter, and if you don't, go ahead at Wisco_Brandon. My buddy sent me a video, and if you just watch Harden, he's falling down before the defender, which in this case was Giannis, is even getting there.
Yeah,
like he's turning the game into an absolute joke. But I'm gonna get to your Giannis. Giannis was 6 out of 10, 60%.
Okay. So 4 out of your 5 misses were from Giannis. Now that's expected, right? You know what I mean? He's what's his percentage?
I'll take 60%.
60% from him.
He's been floating around the 50 to 60% range. He was up over a near 75 like in February, and then he suffered a knee injury and he was out for a while, and then he's kind of been back to where he was previous to that. But
23 out of 28, Brandon, is going to win you ball games. Sometimes free throws, man, when you have 1-2 point games, free throws kill you. Yep. And whether you say it or not, I watched, the second half. I caught the tail end of the first half. But he was clutch from the free throw line at the end of the game. There was 3 or 4 big free throws that he hit. So, again, I think after the third quarter, I thought Brooklyn might have made I was surprised. I was really surprised. I know they were down a lot, but I was really surprised with 4.5 minutes left that Nash emptied the bench. I really was. So,
well, that tells you what I said earlier. Those guys been logging minutes, man.
Yeah.
And I knew that, again, Coach Bud took a lot of heat for game 1 and 2 with his players' minutes. Kind of paying off right now. I mean, it's kind of paying off. He doesn't have, he's not worried about Giannis and Middleton and Drew Holiday playing 48 minutes for Kevin Durant in game 5. I get it. They won, but holy cow. I mean, it's going to matter.
What is Brook Lopez's role on your team?
Yeah, that's
okay. He's a 7-footer, right?
So I don't know. I obviously come in the offseason, after the Milwaukee Bucks win the NBA Finals in the 2021 championship season, that will happen for Milwaukee. He's probably going to more than likely be gone. He doesn't have a role offensively with this team. He is 7-1. He does not play down low.
Mm-hmm.
He can hit, shots, especially from long range for a big man. He can hit shots.
Right.
But nobody really knows his role. And I don't know if he knows his role. So if there's a knock on tonight's game, look, here's the thing though. The Bucks starting five, Drew, Chris, Brook, Giannis, and PJ all finished in the positive category of the plus or minus, whether you, some people like it, some people don't. Brook finished with 8 points. He had 3 blocks, which is huge. He's a rim defender. As my guy Ireland says, he's a rim protector and 3-point shooter, but I don't know if he's going to be doing that role next year, depending on what happens here with the Milwaukee, with the Milwaukee Bucks coaching and how the postseason does end for them. You would like to see him play a little bit down low, but I honestly don't know if it's even his fault, because I think that's the type of offense that Coach Mike Budenholzer runs. It's a run and gun, shoot it, play good defense, transition points, and hit and find the open guy. And Brook Lopez, he's not a bad 3-point shooter. I mean, for his size, for who he is. And I don't know if you necessarily, the way Giannis plays, I don't know if you necessarily need a guy in the center to clog up the lane, because what we see with Giannis a lot of times, and because of his freakish abilities, is he drives, he scores at the basket. And if you got a center down there, well, you're kind of clogging up the lane a little bit.
And you got especially if he can shoot from outside. I mean, I've seen that. Giannis drive and kick it out to him or Holiday or whoever. But I just was wondering about that, because he's not a prototypical 7-footer. You know what I mean? You don't see 7'1". You didn't see Shaq out there 7'2" jacking up threes.
Yeah.
You saw Shaq on the block. So you don't. I'm assuming you guys don't have a prototypical big man, right? As far as
outside of Brook and Giannis, no.
Yeah. But that's not their game, like you said, and it might go back to coaching with Coach Bud. I got a question about Coach Bud for you, though. If you win the finals, if you win this whole thing, is he here still?
Listen, I understand that there's a lot of Bucks fans out there, and rightfully so. Everybody that wants to knock on Coach Mike Budenholzer has a valid reason. His rotations, his substitutions, his offensive philosophy, everything that they make, that people gripe about, they have a legitimate argument. You can make the argument.
Mm-hmm.
I could also make the argument he's one of the best coaches this franchise has ever seen. He's in 3 seasons. He's won 162 games in 3 seasons. 162 games. That last year, before COVID hit, they were on pace to win 70 games, and they were going to be the number 1 seed with home court advantage throughout the playoffs.
Right.
COVID hits, and now they shut the season down, and then they go to the bubble, and the bubble was just really, really weird, because obviously you stop everything for 3 months.
Right.
So it's almost like starting a new season up. Then there was all the social injustice out in Wisconsin. The Milwaukee Bucks players, as an organization, decided not to play in one of the playoff games. So it was just a weird bubble. So he got knocked for getting bounced out of that second round against the Miami Heat. I don't necessarily put the bubble against them. I think that it was what it was. Everybody that makes an argument, and AJ drops in one here. How about Project Pat getting minutes over Forbes? I appreciate Pat's effort, but Forbes gives us better 3-point opportunity. And like I said, he's right. Like, he plays guys that may not necessarily deserve it, and you're scratching your head. Bobby Portis has not played in the last 2 games, and nobody knows why.
I was going to ask you that.
Nobody has any idea why. Bryn Forbes has hardly got any run in this series, in a series where I think he would probably do really good. But maybe we see something in Game 7. I'll tell you what about Coach Mike Budenholzer. If Saturday night is not his most rounded, amazing, phenomenal game he's ever coached in his career, he's coaching for his career on Saturday. Maybe not career. Maybe that's putting it a little bit.
He's coaching
harsh.
for the Bucks.
He's coaching for his career with the Milwaukee Bucks. If he loses game 7, he's more than likely out as the coach. Unfortunately, I don't call for anybody's firing on this show, on any of my shows, or anywhere that I appear on a podcast or anywhere. I think I let that up to the people that handle that. I like Mike Budenholzer for the most part. I wish there was things that he did differently, but look, every coach has been fired. Every coach has been let go. I mean, everybody's had their, we should have did this, we should have did that. I have those daily. Yeah. So I would assume that, maybe game 7, he throws everything out there and what sticks. And, I know there's teams out there like our guy, Steven. He goes, I love to take him in Orlando. Like he's not a bad coach. Winning 162 games in 3 seasons is pretty darn good.
Yeah. I mean, he's got you to the playoff. You're in the playoffs every year. You know what I mean with him?
Yeah.
He's not winning the big games, right? And go ahead and read that comment because this is a good comment right here.
Yeah, AJ, AJ, if he's new on YouTube to the show, man, welcome. You are an awesome supporter. I appreciate you, and I hope you hit that subscribe button. And AJ drops in a comment. Bud isn't terrible. I don't like his defense adjustments, and he doesn't seem to hold his players accountable / get in their face. However, it is a players' league. Look at Luka Doncic. Still think he needs to go. And again, AJ's, he's not wrong. What he's saying is not wrong. Our live stream right now is blowing up right now. There's so many comments about the Mike Budenholzer, but go ahead and finish what you were talking about.
I look at it as I was thinking about Coach Bud for you guys, and I didn't know until you told me how many games he had won in 3 seasons. And everybody, like you said, has their own opinion about him. But if this man, I feel bad for him if for some reason he doesn't bring a championship this year to you guys, because 160-something wins in 3 seasons in the playoffs with the smallest market team, as you said, in the NBA. And I do agree with some of these other comments people are throwing in there about his rotations and the way who he's playing in those rotations, his offensive defensive philosophies, but the man wins with I would say for you guys before Jrue Holiday came, 2 good players. Well, one great player. I don't know if you consider Chris Middleton a great player. I think he's a really good player, but again, it doesn't. You go back to, you can look at all a ton of every NBA team, minus some. I don't know, Orlando. I don't even know if I can name a player on Orlando. Sorry, Steven. But for instance, Brooklyn, KD, James Harden, Kyrie. You go to the Suns. You got Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, Chris Paul. You know what I mean? You got superstars on those teams, and the Bucks are doing it with less talented or less known and talented players, I think. And you got to give the guy some props, right? You can't just, you're coaching and you want to win titles. It's hard to win an NBA title, guys. It really is. It's hard to win a championship in any sport, but it's hard to win in the NBA. And I brought him up because I hear it. I see you talk about it. I hear it on Twitter from other things. I see it on Facebook, on freaking Yahoo Sports. Is Coach Bud out? I'm like, man, the dude wins.
Well, we're still in the playoffs, and they're like lining up guys, which is funny, is because somebody linked Mike D'Antoni to the Milwaukee Bucks head coaching job. Mike D'Antoni is coaching on as an assistant coach on Brooklyn right now. And my boy Tony, he's over on Twitter. You can follow us on Twitter at Brew City Pod. Bud will get fired, and we will not get a better NBA, and he will not get a better NBA head coaching job if he loses Game 7. That's probably very accurate. But I think he wins. I think the Bucks win Game 7.
There you go.
And I could be drinking the Kool-Aid tonight, but I said Bucks in 7. I said Bucks in 7 after they lost Game 5. I'm telling you right now, it's built in Giannis's legacy. Like, it is coming together for him. Look, like what I said when I was opening up the show, everybody likes to criticize Giannis. He can't hit free throws. He takes too long. He doesn't have a jumper. He can't do this. He can't do that. He's won every award. Every award. Yeah,
and gets 30 and gets 30 and 10 every game.
aside from an NBA championship, he's won everything. He's one of 3 players, Adam, to win the MVP and the Defensive Player of the Year award in the same year, joining Hakeem Olajuwon and Michael Jordan. That's pretty darn good company, if you ask me. Here's something funny for tonight. ESPN Stats and Info just dropped this little nugget. For everybody out there that's a Giannis hater and a Chris Middleton hater, because I know Bucks fans, I know you're out there. I know that you hate them both at times. There's 3 sets of teammates in the history of the National Basketball Association that have combined, both of them have gone over 30 points on 60% shooting when facing elimination. Jamal Murray and Jokic last year in the bubble versus Utah. 1995, Clyde and Hakeem Olajuwon. Tonight, Chris Middleton and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Like, they are pretty darn good. And if you're a Milwaukee Bucks fan, it's okay that they're not Kevin Durant's or James Harden's. Mm-hmm. Because I'm telling you right now, if Giannis was in LA, they would have changed the logo to Giannis already. Like, he's in Milwaukee. People hate that he stayed in Milwaukee. People hate that he's loyal. They wanted him in Miami. They wanted him in LA. And here's a little bit of a little insider info. I talked to now I'm not like an insider guy. I just got lucky with this conversation. No, everybody's out there. Shout out to AR12 over there on YouTube. I love the picture. I love the name. It is crazy to think that we could completely boat race the Nets. I mean, the last 2 games were come out guns a-blazing, only to lose one of those games when KD went nuclear. And that's what I said. The Bucks could have easily have won. They could have easily have won this series. Like, it's crazy how Game 5 really. Brooklyn's lucky, man. They're lucky that they're in this series still, because that was a game they could have easily have lost. And tonight they would have gotten boat raced out of Pfizer, and the Milwaukee Bucks would have been holding home court advantage in the Eastern Conference Finals. But going back to my thing, I don't even know where I was talking about. But he's won every award. Like, the guy is continually gets better year after year. And he's going to win an NBA championship. And if it's not this year, it's going to be next year or the year after. He's going to get there. The same thing with Chris Middleton. The hate that these guys get. Look, if Giannis was in a big market, or if Chris Middleton was in a big market, their attention would be much larger. They would. You only hear about Giannis, Adam, as a Bucks fan, as a Giannis loyalist. Yeah. You only hear about him on the timeline on Twitter when he does something wrong. That's it.
Right. Yeah. I want to point out something that on your show here. After Game 2, you were fired up and pissed off to God's end, man. And you thought, and I don't remember if you said this out loud or not, but you were pretty much saying, man, we're down 2-0. I don't know how it's not going to end well.
Yeah.
And now, look what happened, man. Game 7.
And it's and you're right. And I'm a roller coaster of a fan. Real quick before I forget, if you guys are on the live feed, I do a segment. If it's your first time on the Bucks post-game show, I do a little segment that it's called the MVB, the most valuable Buck for tonight. So in the comments section, Arlen, AJ, my dad, AR12, Noah, drop in your comments on who you thought was the most valuable Buck. We'll get those votes tallied up. We'll announce who's the MVP going forth. But yeah, you're right, Adam. Down 0-2. Game 2 was bad, dude. I mean, it was really, really bad. I mean, they lost by almost 40, 39. It was pretty bad. And it just felt like they were outmatched. It just felt like they were being out superstarred, I guess is the word. And they had no real answer for Kevin Durant. And I think I think what they're figuring out, I think what the Bucks are figuring out, and a little bit of it was noticed tonight, let Kevin Durant get his, because he's going to get his no matter what you do.
Right.
Going ahead, and we're going to go ahead and look ahead real quick to Game 7 for a few minutes. He's going to get his. Like, the guy is 6'11". He's going to rise up no matter how tough PJ Tucker, no matter how long Giannis is. And real quick, oh God, I got to get this off my chest.
Oh Lord, here we go.
The Giannis and guarding Kevin Durant stuff has to stop. Like, if you're a basketball fan, like, Giannis doesn't necessarily, just because he's the Defensive Player of the Year award, you don't want him guarding Kevin Durant, because Giannis is going to be sitting on the bench in the first half with probably 4 fouls, the way Kevin Durant draws fouls. Rudy Gobert doesn't guard Paul George.
Right.
I mean, Chris Paul doesn't guard, name somebody, from the previous series. It's about matchups. It's about playing the game. I understand that people think it's a video game and you can just throw Giannis on Kevin Durant. Like, Kevin Durant is going to cross him up. He's faster than him. Laterally, he's not able to guard him. Now, up and down, Giannis is going to check him. But laterally, Kevin Durant he's too smooth. So I don't want to hear about why Giannis didn't guard Kevin Durant. PJ Tucker, again. PJ Tucker finished with the highest plus or minus in the game.
With 3 points.
With 3 points. Like, there's a reason PJ Tucker is guarding Kevin Durant. So if you're out there complaining on Twitter, the dark web, well, if you're on Twitter, follow the show at Brew City Pod. Stop. There's a reason PJ Tucker is guarding Kevin Durant. It's not because Giannis doesn't want to. It's not because Giannis can't. It's matchups. It's a reason why PJ Tucker is guarding Kevin Durant.
Yeah, I wouldn't ever put him on KD, because here's the thing, like you said, KD's going to get his, right? No matter what. It doesn't matter. You put Giannis, Chris Middleton, PJ Tucker, you can stick Brook Lopez. KD is going to get his 100%. So match Giannis up with somebody else. Like, KD's going to get his 35, man. And you are right. If Giannis did guard him, KD's got that stupid swing under and go up.
That's it, yeah. I mean, Giannis is too aggressive. He can't play. He'll be in foul trouble within the first few minutes.
Yeah.
So again, if you're out there and you're calling out Giannis after Game 5, like, I'm perfectly fine with PJ Tucker. And we saw it in Game 3. And if people forget, PJ Tucker and Kevin Durant went face to face. And that kind of woke up the crowd at Pfizer Forum. The Bucks do end up going ahead. That sloppy 86-83 game. PJ Tucker is wearing on Kevin Durant. I don't care what anybody says. You can't tell me he's not. The dude is built like a bulldog, and he is on Kevin Durant's hip everywhere he goes. Now, he is earning everything he gets. I mean, there's not many looks. I wish that Brook Lopez would stop with the sag defense, with the high pick and roll. I wish that, it would they would tighten up the defense a little bit on Kevin Durant, maybe double team him, force the ball out of his hand early. But look, he's going to score. Like, the guy's won scoring titles. He's won finals MVPs. He's won an MVP. He's 6'11" and shoots anywhere on the court. Like, you can't guard that.
Yeah. Put that comment up, Brandon, that AR12 put up. That's a great comment right there.
AR12, he's over on YouTube. If you guys are on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. I would so much appreciate it. I appreciate you guys tuning in to the Milwaukee Bucks postgame show, brought to you by the Brew City Lounge. AR12 drops in. Doris Burke had a great quote at the beginning of the game. Quote, KD is going to get his 30, but it's how hard you make him get his 30. Quote, end quote. Pretty much the best way to put it. As AR12 drops over, he's over on YouTube. My boy AJ drops in. You need Giannis to be a roamer on D, and I agree with that. If you're not, and that's fine. And if that's how Giannis guards on KD, periodically, that's fine. But going back to AR's comments, that's just what I said. Like, he's earning those points. Like, he scored 8, almost 50 points in Game 5, but the dude was burnt out. I mean, he played the whole game, and it took him a whole game to score 50 points. Not that that's not amazing, but he's earning that. He's earning that stuff. Like, it's wearing on him, and it's going to wear on him, especially for a guy that missed all of last year, with the Achilles tear injury. So I think we're going to see. Look, Kevin Durant. Now, keep in mind, he's not going to come out in Game 7 and just lay down on the floor. He's going. You're going to get everything you got from Kevin Durant in Game 7, but it's just about sustaining what he's doing. Now, in Game 5, if Kevin Durant dropped 55, the Milwaukee Bucks still would have won. The reason they lost that game was because Jeff Green had 27 points. That's why.
And shot 8 for 11 from the 3-point line.
That's why you lost. There's There's no really ifs, ands, or buts about it. Venom Snake over on YouTube. Drew Holiday thinks he is Steph. Drew Holiday is struggling right now, but 21 points, Venom. So, I mean, he's doing okay. Yeah. He's doing okay. But we got about 10 minutes or so left of the show, Adam. I want to get your thoughts going into Game 7.
Here's my thought, man. KD's going to get 30, right? James Harden's not full strength. If Kyrie's not playing, and even if Kyrie was playing, he's not going to be 100%. Who else is going to step up for Brooklyn and fill the void of all of those points that they're missing from two scorers? Is it going to be Joe Harris? Probably not. Is it going to be Blake Griffin? Probably not. Jeff Green might step up again. I think that with the way Game 6 just ended, Milwaukee has all of the firepower going into Game 7. I like the Bucks winning. I wrote this down before I came on tonight. I said 105 to 100. I got them winning Game 7 and going on. I just don't think Brooklyn is healthy enough to match up with Milwaukee right now, and everything that's happened and transpired in the Game 6. I just think that Milwaukee has they're on the high side right now.
And the thing with Brooklyn, and you kind of see a little bit of a trend with this Brooklyn team. If you keep them under 100 points, the Bucks have won every game by keeping them under 100 points. They won Game 3. Brooklyn only scored 83. They won Game 4. Brooklyn only scored 96. They win tonight. Brooklyn only scored 89. So you see defensively what the Milwaukee Bucks need to do. Now, the Nets scored 114 points in Game 5, and Kevin Durant scored almost 50 of them. So, I mean, again, without Jeff Green in Game 5, the Milwaukee Bucks are moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals. AJ, he says he's got to run. It's hot as balls down here, Miss Lake, Michigan. He's out in Kansas City. AJ, you get to have the barbecue, though, so enjoy that while we enjoy the lake. But no, thanks for tuning in, man. I appreciate you taking the time out and checking out the show. Check it out tomorrow. 1 o'clock will be live tomorrow, so I appreciate you. But going ahead and looking out to Game 7, look, if you're Coach Mike Budenholzer, this is it. This is your Super Bowl.
Yep.
I firmly believe if he beats Brooklyn, no matter what happens after he beats Brooklyn, I think he probably still keeps his job. And I'll tell you why. Because Brooklyn is a mini finals right now in the NBA. They're a team that everybody thought should be in the finals. Look, people forget. They're like, oh, James Harden's out. And when James Harden was hurt, Brooklyn was picked by Vegas and pretty much every talking head to win the NBA Finals prior to Brooklyn acquiring James Harden. Now you add James Harden. Well, those expectations only amplified. So they're still the favorites. They always were the favorites. They were always going to be the favorites. You beat Brooklyn. Look, there's a couple things that need to happen. Nobody else can go off. Let Kevin Durant score 60.
Yep.
Keep everybody else at par. Don't let Jeff Green shoot 90% from three-point range. Don't let Joe Harris go off for 30 points. James Harden, he's still injured and definitely not at 100%. Don't let him have a 25-point game. Keep it at par. Keep it at even keeled, and just let Kevin Durant look. He's going to get his. You can't do much about it. You can double team him, but he's going to find an open shooter, and Brooklyn has a ton of shooters. So I'm okay with Kevin Durant getting his. It's a game of, look, you go out in the offseason and you acquire Drew Holiday, and you give up 3 first-round picks and 2 players. That's a haul. No matter who it is, that's a haul. Game 7's got to be a Drew Holiday game. Now, he's not the best player by any means on the Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis and Chris Middleton will show up. Chris Middleton consistently shows up in these playoffs. Game 2, he didn't, but nobody really did. So, other than that, Chris Middleton, he had 17 points in the second quarter, which kind of kept them with that lead. Chris Middleton and Giannis are going to show up. It's got to be a Drew Holiday game. It's got to be a game where, and he don't need 50 points. He don't need even 30, 20, 25 points. but he's got to be fundamentally sound with the basketball and make the right choices, play the right defense. I think if he has a good game and Giannis and Chris are there, I think they win. And I think they win pretty good. Look, they probably should have won in game 5 pretty good. And it slipped. And Kevin Durant caught fire late in that third quarter going into that fourth quarter. Yeah. If he doesn't, Adam, the Bucks are waiting at home to see who they're playing in the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, Milwaukee, as much as everybody hated game 5, and I hated it. I absolutely hate it. Ruined my night.
Yeah, I know that.
But that I think it gives them a little bit of confidence going into game 5. Like, look, we can go in here and we can score. We can win. We were right there. And I think they're going to have something to prove in game 7. It's all about tough defense. It's all about doing the little things. Game 7s, as everybody knows, it's all about doing the little things, getting those extra possessions. And the Bucks have the better players for that. As much as people don't like Pat Connaughton, the guy's a scrapper. He's going to get that extra that loose ball. PJ Tucker, he's going to do anything to win. So I think it's going to come down to just Drew Holiday having a good game. And I think they'll win.
I think you need to add in defensive efficiency on that, meaning PJ Tucker needs to do PJ Tucker things, contain Kevin Durant as much as he can, because defensive, efficiency will lead to turnovers, and the turnover margin. You hear that in all sports. Turnovers. They lose you ball games. But I think I don't think Brooklyn is great defensively. I really don't.
They're not. They're 22nd in the regular season.
Yeah, I mean they're a run and gun team. So I think defensively, if Milwaukee can contain KD to his 30 and not let anybody go off, you're absolutely right. I think they walk out of there with maybe a 15, 20 point win. The only thing that for a Milwaukee fan that you need to worry about is there's fans back. It's in Brooklyn, and it's a game 7.
Brooklyn don't have any real fans, though. Like, they're an adapted, everybody in New York loves the Cleveland.
I was going to wonder if you were going to bring up the adapted New Jersey net.
Brooklyn net they're not, I got friends that are from New York, and they're like, oh, yeah, they're our team. I'm like, they weren't a couple years ago, but I mean, sure, whatever you say. Yeah. But we're going to go ahead and that's going to do it for the most part of the show. If you guys are out there on the live chat, if you're on Twitter, you're on Facebook, on YouTube, thank you so much. But before we go, I did ask a question about, 10 minutes or so ago, who was your most valuable Buck for tonight? Now, I got probably more comments than any show I've ever done on tonight's show. And shout out to all of you guys for dropping in your comments, your thoughts. Look, again, when I do these post-game shows, I throw it out there. If you guys want to jump on, if you got a few minutes and you just want to talk, I threw it out on Twitter. Adam sent me a message. I sent him a link like 5 minutes later. That's what this is about. It's a post-game show for us, for the fans, by the fans, and the support is just so much appreciated. So about 10 minutes ago, again, who was your MVP? Adam, I will let you say who your MVP is. I will give you mine, and then we will go to what the people said.
I'm going to go off the wall again, and I'm going to say PJ Tucker. You can't deny the plus 30. And, he's just a scrapper, dude. He didn't have a great offensive game. He's, one game he'll score 20, but I think tonight, just his tenacious defense tonight and scrappiness, I think for me, it would be PJ Tucker.
And I love that, because I'm a PJ guy. He's not real big. He's 6'5". He's not going to outscore anybody. He's not going to outshoot anybody. But I think that it's hard, really, because you could go a couple different routes tonight. Yeah. Giannis at 30 and 17. Chris Middleton at 38. PJ Tucker finished with the highest plus or minus in the whole game. Right. Keeping Kevin Durant kind of at bay. Based on what the people said, my MVP is Chris Middleton. I think the biggest part, not only because he scored 38 points and had, I forgot how many, it was 10 rebounds. It seemed that every time Brooklyn went on a little bit of a run, Chris Middleton answered back.
Right.
If Kevin Durant hit a big shot, Chris Middleton came down, whether it was a mid-range or if it was a getting fouled behind the line for a three-pointer. he just seemed to kind of have a little bit of an answer to what everybody was doing for Brooklyn. So based on the votes, based on the comments for all of you out there on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube at Brew City Pod, Chris Middleton won the vote pretty handily. There was a couple, surprisingly enough, I think PJ Tucker would have finished in second. I think he had 4 votes. Chris Middleton at 8. So he kind of overtook PJ Tucker. But look, you can't go wrong with either one of those. PJ Tucker does everything that nobody else wants to do. It's as simple as that. The guy is he chews nails before he goes and plays a game. Like, the guy is just tough, and we're gonna need it in Game 7. So shout out to PJ Tucker, shout out to Chris Middleton, shout out to all of you that jumped on this live feed. We had a ton of people on here tonight, and it's encouraging to see. Game 7 on Saturday. Adam, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you jumping on. I know you had like 3 podcasts to do tonight. So
yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on.
Drop your Twitter handle and anything else that you want to talk about.
Yeah, you guys, quick. I got a lot of podcasts, guys. All part of the Lounge Room Network with Brandon. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Raymer11. Under there, you can see the 3 podcasts. If anybody's a Bama fan, I run a Bama one. If you're a golf fan, I run a golf one. If you're a wrestling fan, I run a wrestling one. So just hit me up on Twitter, man, and go check out our shows too. We appreciate it.
And I appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Thank you so much. A live episode of the Brew City Lounge will be tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Armin Sarian from 97.3, The Game out in Milwaukee, is going to join me. We'll have plenty to talk about based on tonight's Milwaukee Bucks victory. So thank you guys for tuning in. That will do it for the post-game show. Saturday, I'm not sure if we're going to be doing one because I might not be home. I don't know. We'll see how Saturday goes. So if they win, I'll find my way to a computer. I do have a late day planned with the family, but I will definitely be back in time for the game. So I'm going to be a sore loser if they lose, and I probably won't do one. So, but as always, thanks so much for you guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. I appreciate all you guys. Don't forget, follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube at Brew City Pod. If you're not subscribed to the channel, if you're not subscribed on Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, hit that subscribe button, download the episode, and please leave a review. All that would be appreciated. I hope you all have a phenomenal evening. Have a good Friday, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. See you.